My vision is to engineer tiny robots that can roam through the body to detect and treat disease. To interact with our cells, these systems should be as small as a few tens of nanometers, which is about a thousandth of the width of a hair, or locally release a sensor to measure a disease state. Lipids, for example, are part of every cell membrane in our body and are a fabulous building block for our nanorobots. Because we can engineer conditions in which these lipids self-assemble to nanoballs, so-called liposomes. And during this process, we can add drugs or sensors. But how can we now remotely control them? How can we trigger their release? Well, we can add, for example, magnetic material and make them respond to magnetic fields. Magnetic nanoparticles dissipate locally heat when exposed to fast-switching magnetic fields. And we can use that to melt our shell and locally release a sensor. And we can design molecules that can be cut by these enzymes and shed a marker acting as a sensor. Now, we designed nanoshells that can travel through the bloodstream. And because the tumor vasculature often tends to be leaky, they can actually, because they're so small, extravasate out of the gaps and accumulate at the tumor site, where we can externally activate them with magnetic fields to locally release their sensor. And now, when the sensor hits the enzyme we're looking for, the marker is cut and released, and it's small enough that it can travel through the kidney, where we can then detect it in the urine using paper microfluidics like a pregnancy test. And with that strategy, we could distinguish two different aggressive forms of cancer, which can help clinicians to decide which therapy works best. So can we somehow add a motor to our nanorobots, our nanodelivery systems? So this inspired us engineers to basically replicate this and 3D print helical tails out of a biodegradable material, coated with a magnetic material, and now we basically apply rotational magnetic fields to have such a motor, in leveraging these magnetic bacteria as a wirelessly controllable living therapeutic platform. And with that, I hope I could convince you that we are at a time where we can indeed engineer tiny machines of living and synthetic components that have the potential to open up a completely new era in medicine. Thank you.